okay, look, here's a situation. Let's say Roe versus Wade is overruled. Ohio bans abortion, in 2022 or let's say 2024. And then, every day George Soros sends a 747 to Columbus to load up disproportionately Black women to get them to go have abortions in California. And of course, the left will celebrate this as a victory for diversity. That's kind of creepy.
Health justice is when we exterminate working class Black people.
Something like that could. I mean, that would be a really weird turn of events that could happen. Yeah. Yes,
and it's like, if that happens, do you need some federal response to prevent it from happening? Because it's really creepy. And I'm pretty sympathetic to that.
Okay, I want you to stay tuned for proof that JD Vance's recent comments of, oh, don't worry about what I've said about abortion in the past. I'm just gonna do whatever Trump wants right now is a total dodge, and we're gonna establish that. But we have to take stock of what you just heard. That was JD Vance on some weirdo podcast back in 2022, and every bit of that is sociopathic. He wants, should we start on the race stuff? The weird fantasizing about planes of Black women that are being, I guess, forced or encouraged to have abortions. They're not humans acting in their own self-interest or anything like that. In the fantasy that he's cooked up, they're being obligated to have abortions. Okay, but the most important part clearly is, if we have the state-by-state thing that Donald Trump wants, where some states you have rights over your body and some you don't because you're basically cattle. Okay, that's not good enough, because you theoretically could leave the 1850s era states and then go to civilization, and that's not acceptable to JD Vance. So the whole thing of federalism, of we're not gonna do it at the federal level. We're just gonna have the states decide. Oops, until some states actually have respect for your autonomy as a human being. So in that case, we're gonna make it illegal to leave the state. We are going to now rule on what you do where we don't have control. And that should scare the hell out of people. Not only because JD Vance is theoretically gonna be the VP, but because he's been coronated by Donald Trump to be the next, I guess, heir apparent of the MAGA movement. And theoretically, if Donald Trump wins, then we're just like, a poorly swallowed hunk of Big Mac away from JD Vance being in charge of abortion policy. Waz, what do you think?
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
This is Handmaid's Tale stuff. If you think the right is trying to do horrible things to you and your family, vis-a-vis this abortion issue, I don't know how you listen to this clip and don't think this is like a complete and utter mess.
I definitely agree with this point. I don't want to keep referencing The Handmaid's Tale. I enjoyed the book, I enjoyed the show. I don't want to have to keep thinking about it in relation to our politics. But the issue is, America in general, and particularly the Republican Party, is full of guys who are fundamentally broken down to the cellular level. And the only way they can have some brief solace or internal peace is by projecting nightmarish dystopian scenarios in which they have ultimate control over what literally everyone else does in their life, in their bedroom, with their body, with their reproductive future. And by the way, it doesn't mean that he's not a little bit savvy. I mean, he's dumb enough to say this on a podcast and assume that it's never gonna get out. But he also knows how to play his cards when they're best played. Take a look at this, where he indicates that he knows that sometimes you have to wait to get what you truly want in politics.
I mean, I certainly would like abortion to be legal nationally.
Do you think that we'll get a national resolution? I mean, I'm sure you'd like a national resolution, but do you think we could do it in this climate? Think that's going to happen?
Well, I mean, in this climate, short term, no. I mean, of course, a national resolution would be impossible, but.
It's great that they have, the one woman on the podcast laughing about the fact that he looks forward to a better time in the future when we don't have to strip away rights at the state level. We could just do it in one vote and it's gone. But that's what he's saying there. So when you find out that he's saying that there should be no abortion, no exceptions, no incest exception, no rape exception. And now he says, oh, don't worry about all the stuff that I said in ancient history a year ago. I don't mean that anymore. anymore. We're just gonna go with whatever Trump says. And Trump says it's a state thing. We're not even worried about the federal government. And he's saying, oh, I understand we can't do it federally now. Oh, but maybe soon. That's what he's waiting for. That's what they're all waiting for. It's at the state level as long as that's all they can get. And the second they can do it at the national level, that's what they're gonna do. I know that most of you are already terrified of people with the sort of like ancient way of thinking about so many of these things of a JD Vance, particularly on topics of abortion. You're already scared, but you definitely should be, because more and more evidence is coming out that this isn't just positions that he had. This is what he chose to focus on in so many of these appearances. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.